Jackson had never met anyone like her before. Lyra was from Zalora, a planet far across the stars, where the skies shimmered with colors humans couldn't even imagine. Her skin seemed to glow softly under the apartment lights, like moonlight reflected on water, and her eyes, large, liquid, and full of wonder, seemed to look straight into his soul. There was something innocent and curious about her, yet a quiet intensity that made Jackson feel both excited and nervous. He had invited her to his small apartment tonight, hoping to show her a bit of human life. A glimpse of how Earthlings relaxed, laughed, and enjoyed simple pleasures. Lyra had been fascinated by humans. Ever since she arrived on Earth, she studied everything: how people moved, how they spoke, even the way they gestured when they laughed. Her kind, after all, were logical and precise, and Earth's chaos was a thrilling puzzle to her. But tonight was different. Tonight, she was going to witness something humans called fun, something she did not yet understand. And that phrase Jackson had said earlier, "doggy style," had left her blinking in complete confusion. Jackson tried to act casual, though his stomach did a strange little flip every time he looked at her. He had expected this visit to be simple. They would talk, share stories about their worlds, maybe even play some Earth games. But there was something magnetic about Lyra, something that made his heart beat faster than normal. He didn't want to scare her, and yet, the more he looked at her glowing skin and curious eyes, the more he wondered if humans were the same to aliens as aliens were to humans, mysterious, impossible to fully understand, yet fascinating beyond measure. Lyra stepped into the apartment, her movements graceful and precise. She seemed to glide rather than walk, each step careful, almost as if she were afraid to disturb the human world she had just entered. She glanced at everything: the furniture, the colors, even the small stack of books on Jackson's shelf. Her eyes landed on him, and she tilted her head slightly, antennae quivering. "Your world. It is strange," she said softly, in that melodic tone that made every word sound important. "But beautiful." Jackson smiled, a little embarrassed but genuinely happy. "It's not much," he said, "but it's home, and I wanted to show it to you." He gestured to the couch, then to the small kitchen area. "We can just relax, talk. Maybe have some music?" Lyra nodded, her gaze never leaving him. "Yes," she said. "I want to understand your customs, your actions, even your humor." She paused, her large eyes reflecting both curiosity and a hint of nervousness. "Though some words, they confuse me." Jackson chuckled. He had realized already that language could be tricky. Humans used phrases that didn't always make sense, especially to someone who interpreted every word literally. He had just mentioned a phrase earlier that made her antennae twitch and her eyes widen: doggy style. He hadn't meant anything serious. But Lyra had looked at him as if he had just announced he could make her transform into an actual dog. Seeing her so confused and cautious made Jackson laugh softly, and the sound seemed to make her relax slightly. "Don't worry," he said, holding his hands up. "It's just a saying. Nothing strange will happen. No transformations, no magic. Just humans being humans." Lyra blinked slowly, trying to process his words. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one stranger than the last. She was an alien, yes, but even she had never heard of words that meant something completely different from what they said. Her curiosity battled with caution. Every fiber of her being wanted to ask more, to understand, to make sense of this chaotic, strange, human humor. But at the same time, she trusted Jackson. There was something about him calm, kind, patient, that made her feel safe, even when the words confused her as they settled onto the couch. Lyra finally let herself relax a little. She observed him closely, studying his expressions, his gestures, and the way he moved. She didn't understand everything yet, but one thing was clear: humans were unpredictable, full of emotion, and endlessly fascinating. And for Jackson, watching her study him with such intensity and wonder, he realized that this night, this simple visit, was going to be extraordinary. Somehow he knew that nothing would ever feel ordinary again after tonight. Lyra's large eyes were fixed on Jackson as he spoke. Her antennae twitched nervously, and she stepped back slightly, as if the distance would protect her from something she didn't yet understand. "Doggy style?" she repeated slowly, her voice a mixture of fear and curiosity. "You mean I become a dog?" Jackson froze, realizing too late that his casual mention of a human phrase had caused a serious misunderstanding. He had meant nothing more than a joke, a playful expression, but in Lyra's literal mind, it sounded like a strange and terrifying promise. "No, Lyra," he said quickly, holding his hands up. "It's not like that. You don't actually become a dog. It's just a saying. A way humans talk sometimes. Nothing magical happens. Lyra blinked, her mind racing. But the words, they are clear. Dog, style, become. If humans say it, then it is true. Her voice trembled slightly. She had been trained to trust words, to take them seriously. For an alien who relied on logic and precision, hearing phrases that meant the opposite of what they said was deeply unsettling. Jackson laughed softly, though carefully, not wanting to alarm her further. I know it's confusing, he admitted. Humans like to make words sound funny or strange. Sometimes we use expressions that don't make literal sense. That's just how we are. Lyra's mind whirled with possibilities. She pictured herself suddenly growing fur, running on 4 legs, barking and wagging a tail in his apartment. The image made her shiver. You mean it is not dangerous? She asked hesitantly. No, transformation? Absolutely not, Jackson said, trying to sound reassuring. You will stay exactly the same. No transformations. No strange powers. Just humans being humans. She took a cautious step closer, her curiosity battling her fear. Then, why do humans say things that are not true? Why make words like magic if they are not magic? Her voice was small, but there was a spark of fascination beneath it. Jackson smiled, feeling a mix of amusement and admiration. Maybe because humans like to play with language. We like to surprise each other, to make jokes. Sometimes it's just fun. Words can mean more than one thing, and figuring it out is part of the game. Lyra tilted her head, trying to absorb this. A game, she repeated slowly. Her large eyes studied his face carefully. So, humans lie. Playfully? Not lie, Jackson said, shaking his head. It's not lying, it's expressing ourselves differently. It's a kind of cleverness, a way to connect, to laugh together. Lyra took a deep breath and nodded slowly. She still didn't fully understand, but there was something in Jackson's voice, in the warmth of his expression, that made her feel safe. Maybe humans were strange and unpredictable, but they could also be trusted. And maybe understanding them was worth the confusion. Her antennae twitched again, this time less nervously. She crouched slightly on the floor, observing him as carefully as a scientist studying an unknown species. Then, I will watch, she said. I will see what this doggy style really is. Then I will understand your strange words. Jackson felt a small relief. He could see her curiosity outweighing her fear, and that was progress. Okay, he said, smiling gently. You watch. Nothing scary will happen. I promise. As Lyra settled herself, her eyes wide and shining with anticipation, Jackson realized something important. Humans had a kind of cleverness that transcended danger or fear. Their words, jokes, and expressions were unpredictable, yet they carried emotion, trust, and creativity. And tonight, Lyra, an alien from a faraway world, was about to experience that firsthand. For the first time, she laughed softly, a melodic, hesitant sound that made Jackson's heart feel lighter. She was no longer afraid. She was curious. She was learning. And in that moment, Jackson understood that the strange, confusing humor of humans wasn't just words, it was a bridge between worlds. Lyra tilted her head, studying him carefully. Then, this game. Humans play with words. It is interesting, she whispered. Her eyes sparkled. Even if confusing, it is beautiful. And Jackson, seeing her fascination, knew that tonight would be unforgettable. Lyra's confusion didn't fade as quickly as Jackson had hoped. She remained crouched on the floor, her eyes wide, antennae twitching nervously. Every time he moved, she flinched slightly, as if expecting some sudden, magical transformation. The phrase doggy style lingered in her mind like a puzzle she could not solve. And for her, puzzles demanded answers. Lyra, Jackson said gently, sitting down across from her. I know it sounds strange, but nothing will happen to you. You won't turn into anything else. You won't change. You'll stay exactly the same. Lyra blinked, her large eyes filled with doubt. But you said doggy style. Dogs style. Humans, her voice trailed off. Her mind raced in all directions, imagining humans suddenly becoming animals, or herself transforming into something she did not recognize. The sheer literalness of the words made her pulse quicken. Jackson leaned forward, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. Think of it like this. Humans sometimes say things that don't actually happen. Words can be jokes, games, or expressions. We like to confuse ourselves and others in a funny way. Lyra shook her head slowly, still unsure. So, no danger? No transformation? No. Becoming something else? Exactly, Jackson said, smiling softly. Nothing happens except maybe laughter. That word laughter caught her attention. She tilted her head, considering it carefully. Laughter, she realized, was a human way of showing trust. It was a signal that even confusing things were safe. Her mind began to relax, just slightly. Maybe she had misunderstood. Maybe humans were not dangerous. That she watched him closely, studying the small gestures of his hands, the calm expression on his face, and the way he blinked in a rhythm that somehow made her feel grounded. Slowly, her fear started to fade, replaced by curiosity. She wanted to understand. She wanted to learn the strange ways humans played with words. Then, I will observe, she whispered, almost to herself. I will see this. Doggy style. Then I will know your strange ways. Jackson chuckled quietly. That's a good idea. You'll see. And you'll probably laugh. Lyra tilted her head, unsure of what laughing really meant for humans. She had seen it before, but never in a situation like this. The way humans twisted words, the way they played with meanings, it was baffling and fascinating at the same time. She had expected danger, but now she sensed something else. Connection. You humans are strange, she said finally, her voice soft, almost a whisper. Your words, your expressions, they are confusing. Yet, they are beautiful. Jackson felt a warmth spread through him. Here was an alien from a faraway planet, telling him that human words were beautiful. And he realized that the beauty she spoke of was not just in the words, but in the way humans communicated emotions. Even when confused or playful, Lyra's antennae twitched again, this time with curiosity rather than fear. She lowered herself carefully, crouching like a careful observer of an unknown species. Her eyes never left him. Then, I will learn, she said, determination threading her voice. I will watch. I will understand. Jackson nodded, impressed by her patience and willingness to trust him despite the initial misunderstanding. Good, and I'll help you. I promise. You'll see it's harmless. You'll even enjoy it. A small smile spread across Lyra's face, tentative but genuine. She felt a spark of excitement, mixed with wonder. Humans were unpredictable, yet somehow comforting. Their chaos made sense in a way that logic alone could not explain. For Jackson, watching her fascination grow was mesmerizing. He realized that humans had a gift, the ability to turn confusion into curiosity, fear into laughter, and misunderstanding into a connection that could cross worlds. And tonight, Lyra, the alien girl who had misunderstood a phrase, was discovering that gift firsthand. She looked at him again, eyes shining, and whispered, Then, this human confusion. It is wonderful. And Jackson, seeing her wonder and trust, knew that this moment, strange, funny, confusing, and emotional, was the beginning of something extraordinary. Lyra crouched on the floor, her eyes wide, her antennae quivering slightly as she observed Jackson carefully. Every movement he made, every gesture, she studied with intense focus. To her, humans were a puzzle full of strange expressions and actions, and tonight she had the chance to understand one more. That phrase, doggy style, had terrified her at first, but now, with careful observation, she was ready to learn. Jackson noticed the way her eyes followed him, how she leaned forward slightly when he spoke, and how her hands mirrored the slightest movement he made. It was fascinating. Humans were simple creatures to her in one way, yet complex in another. Their words could mean one thing, but their meaning could shift depending on tone, context, or gesture. Lyra's attention made him realize how extraordinary even the most ordinary human habits could seem to someone from another world. Okay, Lyra, Jackson said gently, sitting cross-legged on the floor. I want to show you what humans mean when we say things like the phrase I mentioned before. Don't worry. Nothing will happen except observation. And maybe laughter. Lyra tilted her head, curious. Observation. And laughter, she repeated. I am ready. He began demonstrating small, exaggerated movements, careful to make everything safe and clear. See, humans often use words as jokes, expressions, things that sound strange but are harmless. This is one of them. He gestured slowly, showing the actions with care, exaggerating the motion so she could follow easily. Lyra mirrored him silently, crouching and tilting her body exactly as he did. Her movements were careful, almost mechanical at first, but as she adjusted, a soft smile appeared on her face. You humans. Your actions. They are strange. Yet, observing them, I feel curious and amused. Jackson laughed softly, a sound that seemed to comfort her. Exactly, he said. Humans do things that don't always make sense, but they're fun. We play with words, with actions, with gestures. And sometimes, it's just for the joy of seeing someone understand. Lyra's eyes sparkled with fascination. So, what I thought was danger was only play? Yes, Jackson replied, smiling warmly. Sometimes what seems frightening is just a way for humans to connect, to share laughter and trust. Her antennae twitched, a subtle sign of her growing excitement. She crouched lower, observing him closely, her mind piecing together the strange human logic. Then, confusion is part of learning? She asked. Exactly, Jackson said. Humans often confuse each other, or even themselves, just to discover something new. We learn through play, through observation, through trying and failing. Lyra's small smile grew into a soft laugh. It was melodic, careful, and hesitant at first, but it rang with genuine delight. I understand, she whispered. Even if confusing, it brings joy and trust. Jackson felt his heart lift. Here was an alien from a distant world, discovering the subtle genius of human culture in real time. And he realized something important. Humans didn't need super strength, advanced technology, or perfect logic to be extraordinary. Their power lay in creativity, empathy, and the ability to turn confusion into connection. Lyra straightened slightly, tilting her head as she watched him. So, the phrase I did not understand. It is safe and enjoyable? Exactly, Jackson said, nodding. It's harmless. It's fun. And now you know the secret humans used to make life interesting. She giggled softly, a sound that filled the room with warmth. For the first time, she saw that humans could be playful, unpredictable, yet deeply trustworthy. Her fear melted into fascination, and her curiosity became pure joy. You humans are incredible, she said softly. Even your strange words teach something important. About trust, about connection, and about joy. Jackson smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Here was the moment he had hoped for. Lyra, the alien girl who had misunderstood a simple phrase, now discovering the true magic of human cleverness. She had crossed the line from fear to understanding, from confusion to laughter, and in doing so, she had shown him that ordinary humans, could create wonder in the most unexpected ways. Lyra's eyes shone, and she whispered once more, I will learn more from you, from humans. And Jackson realized that this simple lesson, this playful demonstration, was more than just understanding a phrase. It was a bridge between worlds, a spark of trust, and the beginning of something extraordinary. As the evening continued, Lyra's fear completely faded. She was no longer worried about strange phrases or transformations. Instead, she was fascinated by everything Jackson did, everything he said, and even the small, ordinary movements humans often took for granted. Her curiosity had turned into delight, and the warmth of their growing connection was almost tangible in the small apartment. Jackson watched her closely, noticing how her large eyes sparkled when she finally understood a joke, or how her smile, hesitant at first, had grown softer and more genuine. She leaned forward slightly when he spoke, mirrored his gestures unconsciously, and sometimes even laughed before he had finished speaking. It was clear that she was learning, but more importantly, she was enjoying the learning. You humans, Lyra said softly, her voice full of wonder, even your strange words, they teach something important. Even if confusing, they connect people. Jackson felt a deep warmth spread through him. He had thought tonight would be simple, maybe awkward, maybe funny. But he hadn't expected the emotional depth of what was happening. Here was an alien girl from a world so far away that humans could barely imagine it, and she was discovering the beauty in ordinary human behavior. Not strength, not weapons, not technology, but something far more powerful, creativity, curiosity, and empathy. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. I see now, she whispered. Your language, your expressions, they are clever, playful, full of life. I want to know more, to understand humans like this. Jackson smiled, feeling more pride than he could describe. "And I'll show you," he said gently. "Every little thing you want to know. Humans are strange, yes, but also kind. And I think you're going to see that it's all worth understanding." Lyra's antennae twitched with excitement. She slowly stepped closer, cautiously, but with more confidence than before. "Then, I will observe, participate, and learn from you." Her voice was quiet, but each word carried weight. She wasn't just speaking, she was expressing trust. Jackson realized the significance of her words. To an alien like Lyra, trust was not given lightly. It was built through careful observation, repeated evidence of safety, and emotional connection. And now, after only a few hours, she was offering him that trust openly. It was extraordinary. The two of them began to explore simple human games and gestures. Jackson taught her small jokes, ways humans expressed humor in everyday life, and even shared some of his purse. Tonal experiences. Lyra listened intently, laughed when appropriate, and occasionally mirrored his movements or words. She was learning not just language, but the rhythm of human life, the subtle ways humans connected emotionally without realizing it. "You humans make learning enjoyable," Lyra said finally, her soft laugh filling the room. "Even when I am confused, I feel safe and joyful. Your words, your actions, they are remarkable." Jackson felt his heart lift. This was HFY, not in battles or wars, not in strength or cleverness, but in the simplest, most profound human gift: connection. Lyra had come to him as a stranger from another world, afraid and cautious, and now she was laughing, learning, and trusting. Humanity had impressed her not through domination or force, but through patience, creativity, and kindness. Lyra glanced around the room, then back at him, her eyes shimmering. "I came thinking humans were confusing, maybe dangerous. But now I know. Humans are wonderful. Strange, yes, but wonderful." Jackson smiled, feeling both proud and humbled. He had not intended to impress her. He had only intended to share a small piece of human life. And yet, here was Lyra, transformed, not literally, of course, but emotionally, in ways no magic could achieve. She had discovered something extraordinary about humans, that even ordinary moments, small jokes, and strange phrases could create trust, laughter, and connection. Lyra leaned back slightly, letting herself relax completely now. I think I like humans," she whispered, almost shyly. "Especially you." Jackson laughed softly, touched by her honesty. "And I like teaching aliens," he said jokingly. Though the warmth in his voice was genuine, for the first time, both of them felt the quiet thrill of a bridge built between worlds, a connection born of curiosity, humor, and trust that days passed. And Lyra's fascination with humans grew stronger with each moment she spent with Jackson. What had begun as confusion over a strange phrase had transformed into genuine curiosity and admiration. She observed humans not as aliens viewing a distant species, but as a student discovering a form of life, filled with wonder, humor, and heart. Every small gesture, every smile, every laugh seemed to carry meaning beyond words, and Lyra hungered to understand it all. Jackson noticed her attentiveness. Even in ordinary moments, pouring tea, adjusting a book on the shelf, or laughing at a small human joke, she absorbed every detail, her eyes wide, antennae twitching with quiet excitement. She was learning something deeper than language. She was learning the rhythm of humanity itself. And in turn, Jackson began to see his own world through fresh eyes. The ordinary, the mundane, suddenly seemed extraordinary. "Humans are strange," Lyra said one evening, softly, almost to herself. "Your expressions, your gestures, even your pauses, they carry meaning, not logic, not calculation, but feeling." She paused, her large eyes reflecting the soft light of the apartment. "It is beautiful. More than I imagined." Jackson smiled, realizing how far she had come. He had started this experiment, if he could call it that, as a simple joke, a playful teaching moment. But now Lyra was discovering the true essence of what made humans extraordinary. It was not their strength, or their technology, or their ability to survive. It was their creativity, their capacity for joy, their empathy, and the way they could turn confusion into understanding. "You see, Lyra," he said gently, "humans don't just speak or act. We create meaning. Even when something seems confusing or strange, there's usually something behind it. A reason, an emotion, a story. Lyra tilted her head, absorbing each word. So, what I thought was confusing was learning, she whispered. And what I thought was danger was connection? Yes, Jackson replied, his smile warm. Humans are full of surprises. But the best surprises are the ones that teach you something, that make you see the world differently. For the first time, Lyra understood the gift humans carried in their ordinary lives. The humor that had terrified her, the strange words she had feared. The odd gestures she had watched carefully, all of it was a demonstration of their cleverness, their playfulness, and their capacity for trust. She realized that humans were extraordinary not because they conquered worlds, but because they could conquer fear with kindness, confusion with laughter, and distance with connection. She laughed softly, a sound like chimes in the quiet apartment. I came thinking humans were complicated, maybe dangerous. But now I see. You are amazing. Even your mistakes, even your jokes, they teach. Wonder, you are wonderful. Jackson felt a lump in his throat. She was right. He had thought humans were ordinary, but now he saw the truth through Lyra's eyes. The small moments, the kindness, the laughter, the trust, it was extraordinary. Humanity had the power to inspire awe, even in a being from another galaxy. Lyra leaned forward slightly, her eyes soft, almost shy. I want to learn more. Not only your words, but your feelings, your actions, your way of being. Jackson reached out and gently placed a hand near hers, careful not to startle her. And I'll show you. I'll teach you everything I can. Her antennae twitched, a sign of happiness and trust. Then, I will understand humans completely. And I will share this understanding with my people. Jackson smiled, realizing the enormity of what she had just said. This was not just a lesson in human humor or phrases, it was the beginning of a bridge between worlds. Through curiosity, laughter, and patience, she had discovered the best of humanity. And in return, he had learned something about himself, that the ordinary, the simple, the playful moments of life could carry meaning far greater than anything he had ever imagined. Lyra's eyes shone, reflecting a soft, almost magical light. Humans, you are more than I imagined, she whispered. Not for power, not for strength, but for heart. And Jackson realized in that quiet moment that she was right. Humans were extraordinary, not for what they could destroy or conquer, but for what they could create: trust, laughter, wonder, and connection. And tonight, Lyra had discovered it all. The day Lyra was set to return to Zalora arrived too quickly. The apartment, once a strange and foreign place to her, now felt like a second home. The soft hum of lights, the small stacks of books, even the cluttered couch, all of it carried memories of laughter, confusion, and learning. She had entered Jackson's world as a cautious alien, afraid of strange words and phrases. Now, she was leaving with a deep understanding of something far greater than vocabulary, the heart of humanity. Jackson noticed the subtle shift in her demeanor. Her eyes were calm, thoughtful, and filled with a soft glow of wonder. She moved with her usual grace, yet there was a lightness in her steps, as if every moment with humans had added something new to her being. She paused by the doorway, turning to him with a small, almost shy smile. I came thinking humans were unpredictable, she said quietly. Perhaps confusing, even dangerous. She shook her head gently, as if trying to erase the memory of her first fear. But now, I know. Humans are extraordinary. Your words, your actions, even your mistakes teach trust, joy, and connection. You are remarkable. Jackson felt a lump in his throat. He had expected curiosity, maybe laughter, maybe confusion. But he had not expected this. He stepped closer, feeling the quiet weight of the bond they had built over days of observation, playful lessons, and shared understanding. You've learned well, he said softly, a small smile tugging at his lips. And in learning, you've reminded me of something too, humans. We are ordinary, yes, but we have a way of turning small confusing moments into connection, trust, and joy. You've seen that. Lyra's eyes shimmered. Yes, I have. And I will take this understanding back to my people. I will show them. Humans are not just strong, not just clever, but capable of heart. She hesitated, then added softly, and I will never forget. You, Jackson smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. This was more than friendship. It was a bridge between worlds. Through her eyes, he saw humanity's greatest power not in science, not in conquest, but in creativity, empathy, and the ability to turn fear into laughter, misunderstanding into learning, and strangers into allies. Lyra extended her hand, delicate and glowing softly, and Jackson gently took it. There was no need for words. The connection was complete. Hours of lessons, confusion, laughter, and shared moments had forged something deeper than language. It was trust. It was understanding. It was humanity. "I will remember," Lyra whispered, her voice melodic. "Every moment. Every human lesson. Every laugh. And I will remember you," Jackson replied, his voice warm. "You've taught me that even someone from a distant world can see the beauty in what we do every day, and in doing so, remind us of what truly matters." Lyra's antennae twitched with a faint glow, a sign of emotion on her planet that humans could not fully understand. "Then, we are connected. Across worlds." "Yes," Jackson said softly. "Connected, even if far apart." She stepped back to the door, pausing once more to glance over her shoulder. "Goodbye, Jackson. Thank you. For teaching me. For trusting me. For showing me." Humans. Jackson watched her go, feeling a mixture of pride and melancholy. She had arrived afraid, curious, and cautious. She was leaving transformed, her mind expanded, her heart touched, and her spirit enriched. Humanity had left a mark on her, as she had left one on him. As the door closed behind her, Jackson looked around the apartment, noticing every little detail with new appreciation. The books,